Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And a special offer to ImmaLetYouFinish listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/ImmaLetYou, ImmaLetYou. That's betterhelp.com/ImmaLetYou, ImmaLetYou. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, and all that are in between.
I was going to say, in between, too.
We are back.
So 2022 to have actual categories. Have you learned
Well, now
nothing?
It's 2023.
Well, I was
right?
saying it was so 2022
Well,
to
that's
have
true.
the categories.
Well, right. I'm trying to be like Rihanna in that video of her. Did you see going around at a Fenty show? And I love it. And everybody over 30 trying to explain all of the new pronouns and stuff. She's like, I make boxes for boys, girl, the genders, pronoun. And I was like, I feel you, Ree. It's like the intention is there. I'm a little confused too. And I've been a Mo for decades. You know what I'm saying? Decades upon decades.
I think we need to bring back Mo, actually. Do you know that when you used to go to, and then we'll introduce the show, but I just have to say this. There used to be, when you went to Citi Field / Shea Stadium, I had, it was the Mo Zone. It was Modell's section. I went, did no one think that out before they thought of it? It literally says Mo Zone.
Do you know how much I miss Modell's? Let me just tell you something. I used to have a Modell's right on 125th Street.
Modell's was the best.
I used to run to Modell's to be like, I need to go get.
You gotta go. You gotta go to Mo's.
If I needed some underwear real quick,
everything.
My t-shirts, tank tops, jocks, they had everything for like $2.
For $2.
It was like the best shit ever.
The best place to. Yeah. Anyway, hi, we're back.
We're on the Pantheon Podcast Network. It's Court and Amy. It is 2023. It is it's a very interesting day because as we're coming on, we tape on Tuesdays, and we're actually taping later today than we normally tape. And, we're watching all of the congressional stuff, and it's just very weird. And we're here in New York, and we have this scam artist who somehow is sitting up in the chambers of the Capitol building. And it's like, I feel like we're living in this alternate universe of
Republicans. Republicans. It's just Republicans.
It's
it's an alternate universe of Republicans. Yeah.
But you know what I will say? They're crazy. But them Democrats, they ain't much better either. I think everybody's crazy.
Well,
everyone is crazy.
I will say this. I mean, Democrats screw up, but at least the Democrats don't lie about going to Baruch.
That was an interesting one. It was
a friend of mine explained it to me though. He said, "See, now Baruch is something. If you live in New York, it's a CUNY school, but it's not so highfalutin like, oh, I went to Harvard Business. If you say Baruch, you go, oh, okay, I know people who went to Baruch. That seems regular.
That is true.
Oh, he went to Baruch. Oh, cool.
Because listen, my father went to John Jay and got his master's from John Jay. My mother went to York, so we know the CUNY skills, right? So you I
teach at a CUNY school. I went to CUNY school.
Yeah, and I was at Hunter for a little bit. You say it, and you kind of just say, okay,
Yeah, he went to
cool.
school, working class. He went to school. Anyway,
But it's so like, but then it's like you tag in
everything.
Jewish.
Jewish.
You tag in the Pulse nightclub. I was like, is Jussie Smollett running for office? And not to compare the two in that way. I just mean like when I first heard that Jussie Smollett story, and this is not comparing the two, I felt like that story had everything plus the kitchen sink in it.
It's got nothing on him.
And it has nothing
on him.
On George. Because the George story is like, you brought the whole house with you. Like, I don't understand.
I'm wondering if his name is even George Santos, and I would like to have an investigation.
Well, there's a thing, right? Because he used to go by these a different alias and all of that. I always wonder these people who come with these elaborate stories. Because, right, I do believe crazy shit can happen and things can be true. But when it starts to be so many improbable things,
it's just checking too many boxes.
Yeah, it's just really super weird.
Is he trans? Because I'm next.
You know, he's gonna cry and be sitting on something crazy because he has checked every box. There's only a few more places he can go.
I did like the Brazilian parents who migrated from Ukraine, who fled the Holocaust, and I'm like, and honestly, that's very insulting. It's like, come on,
it's insane.
It's a lot. And what
the mother who died on 9/11
twice.
Then she also died on the 23rd of December.
Yeah, she died twice. It was so traumatic. She died twice, and he was gay up until 3 weeks before he was. Anyway, yay.
Can I just ask a question?
No, yeah, sure.
All of these years of producing.
How much weight did I gain during the holidays? Yes, a lot. I don't give a fuck, but yes.
Did you eat good? So you ate good?
I just ate a lot of fucking cookies.
Right. Nice.
I was helping my neighbor walk her dog with a couple other people. It was like a dog walking posse, and one of the people who were dog walking posse loves to bake cookies as long as she has someone to bake them for. And I went,
you're like, excuse me.
I will eat them. I will eat them for you.
You're like, this is very upsetting.
Yeah, all right.
But I want you to know, I will take those off your hands.
I will take them. Yeah, really. If oh my God, if you can't get rid of the cookies, sure.
Right.
So yeah, I don't care. Who cares?
My energy was, I just ate a lot of veggies, drank a lot of water, and it was a nice peaceful. I know, boring as fuck.
That's what I do on a normal day. I decided to eat cookies.
I did not have one Christmas cookie this entire
I ate a lot of cookies.
And I really wanted some Christmas cookies. But
I ate a lot of cookies.
Why
I went to yoga every day, but I ate a lot of cookies.
No, but you did your thing. Why are all of the New Year's Eve programs so bad? I don't understand
it's a dumb idea for a show. It's a dumb idea.
But they make them so bad. I watched Miley and Dolly. Two people that, I don't mind Miley. And who doesn't love Miley?
Am I an idiot? What were they doing? I went to bed. Okay, let me just preface by saying that to me, the funniest question you can ask somebody over the age of 50 is, what did you do for news?
Midnight?
It's like, what'd you do at midnight? What is midnight? What is that? I went to bed, I think 9:45 because the older you get, you realize, well, it's going to be another year whether I'm awake or not. So I might as well, it's not like me staying up to midnight is going to change the rotation of the earth. So right? You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't have a boyfriend. I'm not drinking. My best friend's here. We barely stay awake. So it's like, I'm just going to bed. So I'm assuming Miley and Dolly did some Dick Clark. Are they the Dick Clark one?
On Channel 4. They are Channel 4, and it was Miley's New Year's Eve with special guest Dolly Parton, and they sang a couple of songs together and stuff. And Miley did a duet of David Bowie with David Byrne. Take that.
Wait a minute, David Byrne?
This thing.
David Byrne?
That one.
Okay, I have to look at this up.
Oh, mistake.
I had no idea. I had no idea it was such a jamboree of crazy.
Or then Paris Hilton.
Oh, Lord.
Miley Cyrus.
Stars Don't Lie, the remix.
Stars Are Blind. They sang Stars Are Blind. And with Sia, who's still giving that thing where I was like, lady, I understand your shtick.
She still got the wig on?
This thing.
Oh, my God.
And then on Channel 7, you have, Ryan Seacrest, and that had Duran Duran and New Edition.
Oh, that I see that would be
both
musically interesting. That would
and
be,
both of whom are going out on tour, I believe,
live in New York.
Live in
From
New York.
Yeah.
But I only watched Channel 4. I didn't turn to Anderson and Andy Cohen because I just don't care. Like, I don't really.
Well, I cannot stand Andy Cohen. I used to be a big Andy. No, I'm serious. I used to be an Andy Cohen fan. I was very into the Bravo stuff, and I think that he is just such.
It turned a corner.
No, he got high in his own supply. That's what happened. He's like with the mugging for the camera, and I think he's basically not a nice person. And I'm sick of like he has convicted criminals.
Now, and I will say,
I do love Anderson Cooper though,
because he employs a couple of my friends, right? And I'm really happy for that.
Yeah.
But I'm very conflicted because when Watch What Happened first started, I was really a fan of Andy Cohen. I liked him.
Me too.
And then there were a couple of things that happened that I was like, oh, I don't like that. And then a couple of ways, and I just started being like, ugh. And I've seen him around socially at different things. I don't know him.
Yeah.
I've said hello to him. But I don't know, like it just that whole Bravo thing. It just
It's run its course.
With me, it has, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't, but
except for Top Chef.
Oh yeah, I went, but I just I watched a bit of it and it was fun, and it was like whoever was doing audio, I'm sure, lost their job the next day because I was like, I'm sorry, your lips are moving, John Stamos, and I can't hear you. And this is going to sound so ridiculous, but I mean, I do like Anderson Cooper. I think he's a very good reporter. I just think he demeans the brand by getting up there. I really do. They should bring back Kathy Griffith. She was a lot more fun.
She was hilarious.
Yeah.
She was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I feel like that whole thing was blown out of, like, listen, if we expect comedians do tasteless shit. That's,
yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of them because
they suck.
I had to get up at, crack of dawn to go do yoga. So, because that's my burden to bear. I'm trying to be a better person or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm okay. You and I have discussed this, and I have to preface it by saying I am not trying to be insensitive because I am not. No, I really have to preface this. Okay. I have to preface it because I really am not an insensitive person. I'm a nice person, and but every year when people die and they die, people are like, oh my God, people are dying. Okay. First off, here's a fun fact. People die.
Yeah.
They die all the time.
They do.
And when you're, and they may die at the end of the year because they figured I'm done. It's time to die.
Right.
There is no kind of significance to the fact if they die at the end. And when someone dies when they're 94 years old, that's not a tragic death. That's like, wow, you lived to 93 or 94. So that said, a lot of people died right before Christmas. Well, no, right before the end of the year. So the first one. Now I don't know. We grew up around the same time in New York. Had you ever even heard of another soccer player besides Pele?
When I was young, I knew his name.
I did.
I didn't know anything about soccer when I was young, but I knew the name Pele.
I know the name Pele. So, the word, iconic, we've talked about that is like, but I didn't even know what soccer was outside of Pele. Mm-hmm. That's all I knew. I think until David Beckham. Those were and that's way later. So Pele did pass, and that's quite sad. Because he changed the world. He changed the world. He came up with the expression, the beautiful game.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Amazing. Because I just figured it was something they just said, oh, the beautiful game.
And to this day, he is the only player to have won 3 World Cups.
Right. Which is really extraordinary. So whenever people talk about this person being the greatest player of all time, and Pele's the greatest player of all time. I mean, absolutely. I think even if you're not a Brazil fan, and who's not a Brazil fan. All right, so he passed away. Barbara Walters, who obviously a very important journalist.
Got to meet her. I'm glad I can say.
Did you?
Yeah. I've been I had artists who were on The View, so I'd gone to The View, and you go backstage and stuff, and I see her, and I've said hello. And one time she kicked me out from backstage and stuff.
My only issue with her was that she was kind of a Trump apologist, and she was friends with a lot of rich Republicans, but she was rich. Did I ever tell you I auditioned for The View?
No.
I did. I didn't get it, obviously.
Mhm.
Because
But
I'm
I
here.
also think she's a legend and an icon, right?
Oh
You know
no,
what
she
I mean?
is. I mean, she
And
totally is. She totally. I'm not saying,
and that woman had balls of steel because, like, you know, my fun fact is we were all crowded backstage. I was there with an artist who was on the show, and she was like, "There's too many people back here," and she gently like guided me like that way, and I
Time to
realized
leave.
that was toward the green room, and I just felt so like, yay!
No, I mean, she
Yeah.
definitely, was definitely an important person in
Hmm.
journalism. She definitely, yeah, she was. There's no denying her importance. I have to say that Vivienne Westwood dying just gutted me.
Well, that. First of all,
Well, it's you've,
I always appreciated her fashion sense and her style
mhm,
because being like I was a kid when I was young in New York, I was never, I was really alternative. You know, I
right,
was in the way I dressed, in the way I looked. I was wearing slashed up jeans. I would have mohawks.
right,
So and it wasn't it wasn't me looking at like say magazines and seeing punk styles and adopting that. It just really came naturally. And when I first started seeing her work, I really gravitated toward that because it felt organically a way that I like to dress.
right.
And you know, there was no word for punk when Vivian started her whole movement
Well, there
because
was a word for punk. I mean,
well,
it was
what
punk. It was
yeah,
punk.
but wasn't she at the beginning of that? Because didn't
Well, I
people
mean,
start calling them punks? Because wasn't it like that was the generation when it kind
well,
of
yeah,
said
yeah,
it?
yeah. I'm saying the word punk, that's the big argument. Who
Right,
said it first?
right,
Iggy Pop, the Ramones.
right.
But it was
Yeah, where did
they
it
stuck.
originate from?
I think, well, a punk is a term for like somebody in prison, the guy who is a
Yeah,
receiver
yes.
of,
Well, as a gay person, I know that.
right.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, I've always heard that in terms of it being used widespread as a musical term, it is the Ramones. It
Right.
starts, the Ramones went over to England and all
Mhm.
those kids saw the Ramones and from that. But Vivienne Westwood in terms of, and Malcolm McLaren, but he always got the credit, of course, because
Right. He's a
he's a man.
man. Right.
But Vivienne Westwood put an aesthetic front and center. And it was also those kids were doing it organically too, because English, it's a smaller country. They're much more English kids, much more marry the music with the style than American kids, right?
Yeah,
You can look at an American kid and not know what kind of music they're into.
that's true.
Yeah, but the Brits, they had the Teddy Boys. They had, not so much now, but you used to be able to look at somebody and go, oh, yeah, you're into that. But anyway, she had to make the transition from that into being couture, one of the greatest designers of our time. I mean, so that's a big
And
leap,
never losing her voice in it. You
at
know what I
all.
mean? Never losing her voice in it.
I think the closest person to her in terms of that would be McQueen, in terms,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
Has there ever been? I've seen her stuff like at the Met when they did the punk fashion show. Did you see that show?
Yes, I did see that show.
Okay,
I
so
did.
her stuff was in that, but there's
Mhm.
never been like, I am sure
Not in
there's
the
going to be a
US.
not in the US, right?
I don't believe one has come to the US.
But Vic, I have to imagine that the V&A in London.
I believe there's been something in the UK. Yeah, absolutely. I believe
but
that.
she
There's Mugler right now at the Brooklyn Museum.
yeah, but this is not, I've seen a couple of these shows. Nothing is ever going to top that McQueen show. That
The
show,
Gaultier show was gorgeous too.
the Gaultier show was really
Gaultier
gorgeous show. But it's
gorgeous.
just after a while, that McQueen show was like a once in a lifetime. The McQueen show is the reason why museums are now open 7 days a week, because they said, oh my God, we can make a lot of money off of this.
I got really lucky. I went the show opened and I went on a random time, because remember there were long lines, there were hours wait.
Yeah.
I went at a random time right after it opened and waited maybe like 15 minutes. It was really super easy to come through. But that was a gorgeous.
No, I went
show.
to that show. Now I went at a random time too, and I'm waiting online, and all of a sudden I see this woman, and she waves at me, and I'm waving, and I was in grad school then. She was in one of my classes, and she was volunteering. She took me to the head of the line, much to the disgust of other people. But I was like, "Fuck you, man!"
And you're like,
hey,
you could be angry and talk to me as I'm walking past you
as I'm
to
walking
the front
past
of the line.
Right. As I go, bye, I'm going to see the Kate Moss hologram before you.
That's when you turn around and you say fun things like, New York's not a fair city.
It's not.
It's just not. It's not
And this
fair.
is why, ladies and gentlemen, you should always be nice to anyone because you never know
You
when they might be. They
never
might be
missing.
the person at the McQueen show who recognizes you and says, "Come to the front of the line." Damn.
Absolutely.
All right, somebody else. All right, who else? Gangster Boo from 3-6 Mafia. That was young,
Yeah,
so she was
yeah.
very young.
She was young, and that's seemingly pointing toward maybe a fentanyl.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was with her brother, like, and he OD'd, and he was able to be saved, and unfortunately,
that's
she
sad.
didn't.
Anita Pointer. So none of the Pointer sisters are alive now.
Only one is left.
Okay, and she
Ruth.
sang lead on all the songs.
Yeah, she sang lead on a lot of the songs.
Yeah, they were. It's so interesting when you look back at. I think they are one of the most underappreciated vocal groups. I really do.
Because they really had a from the 70s.
I mean, Bet You Got a Chick on the Side.
Ooh, baby, that's so
that
good.
Song.
So
that song.
Good.
The long version. The long version.
So Yes We Can, Jada, Fairy Tale.
And their look, that was so unusual because when I was living in the Bay Area, I think when they first came out, or maybe they were, but
but that's the area they're from too,
right?
So,
but that look to come out in that kind of vintage look and kind of work that kind of vibe, and then suddenly, I mean, to me, even though I'm not saying it's a bad song, but So Excited is almost like the least of what they were.
Well, that becomes when we're in that period is when they've finally had really huge commercial pop success, right?
Right.
Those first records, and when they used to shop in Goodwill, and that's why they did those vintage looks. It wasn't the choice was they were like, we'd go to Goodwill. We didn't have money yet, and they had all of these things, so we adopted that style. Was that they were more very almost because you could tell church raised those harmonies, and they did that sort of almost doo-wop style with real soul and R&B and blues type music.
Yeah.
And then the 80s come, they get with Richard Perry and they do more pop rock, and then they go into their big pop moment. And that's when they really exploded, and kind of at that point they had a bunch of albums that gone gold, but that's when they started to have, platinum albums. And
I think they were one of the first groups to have a hit with a Bruce Springsteen song.
With Fire, right?
Yeah, I think they were one of the first black groups to have a hit with a Springsteen song, and that was that's a big deal. So yeah, rest in peace to all of them. I mean, all very different.
Also, Verdine's brother, Fred White from Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, I did not know that. Is Verdine still alive, right?
Verdine is still alive.
He's the one with the long hair?
Yes, he's the one with the long hair. And Fred is he's the founding drummer with
I was going to say he had to be the original drummer, right?
I don't know was he the original? He was, I think he actually came into it, but hold on, because while we're talking about this, I don't want to get it wrong. But I know he was there for when he came in there really for the big
hits. The big
hits.
era, right?
I'm going to tell you right now. He also played, and listen, he was still active and working because he worked on Diana Ross's. He was one of the early members of Earth, Wind and Fire, so they didn't say that he was founding. And he previously played on Donny Hathaway, including he's on the famous Live album.
Okay.
And some of the last work he did was on Diana Ross's big comeback album in 2021, Thank You, which is nominated for a Grammy this year for Best Traditional R&B Album, which I would actually like to see her win, because Diana Ross has never won a Grammy for her music, ever.
Well, Grammys.
So,
I was Bad Bunny. That's all I care about right now.
Well, that's.
I'm just like I really was playing. I was actually really playing that record a lot.
No, you loved him. Yeah, you loved.
No, but I really decided to really listen and really play, and it's really good.
Miguel is the first person to tell me about Bad Bunny.
Yeah, well, that would make sense.
He was like, I'm telling you, he's the one. He's the one. He's the one.
No, he is. He's the one. All right. we all hate lists, right? We hate these lists, except for shopping lists. I don't mind shopping lists
I love
because
a
it helps you.
shopping list.
It makes you organize. It helps you organize something like that. So we are all starved for content. The problem is, it's like the end of the year. Nobody's putting out movies. Nobody's putting out records. Nobody's going on tour. So what you have is everybody generating best of lists, top 10 lists. So Rolling Stone has done yet another list. They had top 50, 500 singles, top 50 albums of all time. So now they have the top 200 singers list, which is adjusted. They've done this before. And I always love, first of all,
I want to just start out before doing it. I want to read a paragraph and a couple of sentences on how they've described this. Before you start scrolling and commenting, keep in mind that this is the greatest singers list, not the greatest voices list. Talent is impressive. Genius is transcendent. Sure, many of the people here were born with massive pipes, perfect pitch, and balanced range. Others have rougher, stranger, or more delicate instruments. Our write-up for the man who ended up at number 112 notes, Ozzy Osbourne doesn't have what most people would call a good voice, but boy, does he have a great one. That could apply to more than a few people here. In all cases, what mattered most to us was originality, influence, the depth of an artist's catalog, and the breadth of their musical legacy.
Right.
Okay.
No, but all right. Well, what I was going to say is, and I understand that because to me, Johnny Thunders is a great guitar player, but technically he's terrible. All right. So, but I always love when the middle-aged white men clutching their pearls see these lists go. Well, I mean, all these lists are just people's opinion. Duh.
Right.
I mean, duh.
It's shocking and controversial. I had no idea.
They didn't put it to a laboratory and see all right. So the top 20 in order going down, starting at 20. Mariah Carey, Frank Sinatra, Celia Cruz. I will say this list is very much more diverse genre-wise and ethnically and country-wise. It's good to realize that people sing outside of the United States. Go figure. Mariah Carey, Sinatra, Celia Cruz, Elvis, Prince, Dylan, Freddie Mercury, Patsy Cline, John Lennon, Little Richard, Al Green, who I think should have been higher up in the list, but that's just me. Otis Redding, Beyonce, we can have that conversation. Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. Oh, no, did I say Mariah twice?
You did say Mariah twice.
All right, then who's this? I can't even read my own fucking handwriting.
Wait.
Number after Ray Charles. Who is that?
Hold on. Number 20. Hold on. It was down by the bottom.
No. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5. I can't even read my own handwriting.
Oh, no.
All right. And somebody. Oh my God, my handwriting. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 20 is Marvin Gaye. Number 5 is Mariah. My handwriting's horrible. Mm-hmm. Billie Holiday, Sam Cooke, Whitney, and oh my God, a shocking pick for number 1.
Shocking and controversial.
Shocking and controversial. Who could it be? Oh, Aretha. I mean.
Okay, let me just, before we dig all the way in.
Yeah. But that's
this
just the
list,
top 20. That's just the top 20. And number 200 is Rosalia.
This list is not wrong, right? There are great people, and I understand why they're chosen, but why they were chosen. Yeah. The order is absolutely atrociously wrong.
Yes. Thank you.
The order is just first of all, they're smart. I believe this is a Ponzi scheme. This is put out this list that they know is insane, and what is going to happen? The level of the impressions, the shares, the discussions, the clicks to RollingStone.com, because you notice Rolling Stone, everything in Rolling Stone is .com is a fucking paywall. It's not this one.
Oh, right.
Not this one.
It's so funny you say that because I'm always like,
none of those lists.
Yeah,
right, and that's how they get you. So hold on, let me just say, it is a Ponzi scheme to get us all talking about it, because by your own admission of why you chose this list,
right?
Everybody's mad about Celine Dion, which we can get into in a minute.
Well, not everybody.
Well, but that is what, if you look at the press, that's the angle of that's leading the headlines of who's been left off this list around the world, right? And what the fans have been reacting to. To me, to not have Madonna on this
I
list
was going to ask you, is she on
makes
it?
zero sense. No, she's not. Because she influenced, to have a Lady Gaga there, it's like pound for pound, hits wise, Madonna had more. Can Gaga sing better? Yes. But you said it's not about who had the best pipes, who had the influence.
Is Christina Amphlett on it from
No,
the
she's
Divinyls?
not. Janet Jackson is not on there. And to me, Janet Jackson defined a whole era, and why she influenced the Ciaras and all of these black girls came behind her wanting to emulate what Janet Jackson did.
Yeah,
and to me, she had the hardest job out of any of those women, because coming behind Michael, she came when Michael was he was just the biggest thing in the world.
Right.
And a lot of the Jackson siblings tried to have careers, and no one reached the heights like Janet did. She truly could stand next to him and be, I'm a global superstar, and could go around the world. I don't know, the list is just weird. But when I see who's on there, I'm like, okay.
No, everyone who's on there is legit. But you have, and again, it's the weird, I mean.
Like they have Oprah Haas on there. You and I both were like,
Oprah
okay.
Haas is amazing.
All right.
Polystyrene. Okay, yes, groundbreaking.
Right.
I mean, definitive, like, but Darlene Love at 147, Darlene Love is the voice of a whole generation of music. I'm sorry, Brandy
has an amazing voice. No.
What makes Brandy different from any other of those girls?
She can sing them. Oh, no. The one thing I will give her is she can do a lot of things with her voice. And she has a very strong voice, and she knows how to use it. She actually has her voice is underrated.
It's the order thing.
But
because, Bonnie Raitt is a goddess, and she's at 187. Brian Ferry. Okay, I'm glad they put Brian Ferry in there, actually. I mean, I think that's fair. Youssou N'Dour, for me, Youssou N'Dour is one of the greatest singers ever, because he is the voice. When you think of you know what I mean? Like, he's just, I did Taylor Swift. Good Lord, are they kidding with that? As a singer? We've had that conversation. I think it's just a weird part. Mark Anthony, I think, should have been higher up. I think he's.
I can make an argument for everyone on their list, because I understand what they mean. Different voices really do, and there are a lot of people who can say, "Oh, but this person can't sing." It's like, but if you look at the career,
it doesn't matter. They can technically sing.
They're there for a reason, and they've had the careers they've had for a reason. You know what I mean? I listen. This might be controversial, but I think Beyonce is an amazing singer. I think she has a beautiful voice, but she's higher than some other people I think should be above that place.
I think she's got a beautiful voice too. But
she's got a beautiful voice.
I just feel like that was a nod and a wink to commercial, kind of. Is she higher on the list than Tina Turner? I mean, is she higher on the list than Darlene Love?
How come Grace Jones isn't on this list? If you want to talk about
that's what I'm saying.
And having a singular voice where no one else sounds like that. As soon as you hear a note, you know who it is.
Right.
You know?
So, obviously Bob Dylan is technically not a great singer, but he's a hugely important singer in terms of, and I understand that. But just some of it feels like we're putting him there for other reasons besides
or it feels young.
Well,
it feels young.
The people, I know of some of these people who wrote this stuff. They're not all young. I mean, some of these guys.
And which parts did they write? You know what I mean?
They picked the list. They wrote the blurbs. I mean, I know who some of these writers are. They're not my age, but they're not children. I mean, you don't get an inclusion of some of the Latin singers or some of the quote unquote world beat singers from a 25-year-old. They're not going to, they honestly are not.
There are a couple of people in that top 10. I'm like, that order is wrong. So I don't want to just
top 10.
Like, I don't want to just point out one and to point out the
I think Al Green should have been higher. I'm sorry.
Marvin Gaye should have been higher.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye should have been higher.
Adele should be higher, honestly.
Yeah, but I would have put Alison Moyet on the list. Is she on the list?
Minnie Riperton should be higher. Stevie Wonder should be higher.
Stevie Wonder is number... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's number 7. I would put him above Mariah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's apples and oranges. I mean, they're doing, you know what I mean? It's like they're completely different music, completely different impact. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. You know what? It's all opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stuff. It's like Grammy stuff. It's like it's like the American Music Awards. Well, the criteria for that is like sales, right?
Or just show up.
Just show up.
Oh, are you gonna come? Are you gonna come? It's like, oh, you're coming.
Really?
You just won Album of the Year and Best R&B Single,
and you're only bringing your mother. You're not bringing everybody you grew up with. Oh, you're there. It's fine. Just come on down. No problem.
It's like Soul Train Awards. Who votes for an award for a show that's been off the air for 20 years? I'll wait.
I know, really?
I'll wait. Can somebody tell me? What does that mean?
Can we vote in the Wonderama Awards?
You know what I mean?
For award shows.
My cousin went on Wonderama when
I
was young.
Jealous.
I was so dumb. And he was one of the kids picked. He got to play the game, you know, when you turn, if you ever get the bouquet or the snakes come out.
I used to practice my Wonderama wave in front of the TV in the off
Wonderama
chance that I would get picked.
I used to always try to call and want to get on the picks game. Now, you are a certain age.
I don't remember.
And you're from New York. If you remember on Channel 11. During the after school.
Okay.
There was like a video game thing, right? And you could win prizes. And it used to be if they called you and I can't remember if you called in the number or they called you and you got through. You got to play the game. And if you won, you shot enough of these objects just to go across the screen. And how you controlled the missiles that shot at the object is you had to say picks.
Oh my God.
And people used to go picks.
I was already like
picks.
I remember Officer Joe Bolton and Chuck McCann and the Soupy Sales Show. I do remember.
Do you remember New Zoo Review? It used to come on at like 6 o'clock in the morning on Channel 9.
Yeah. And
the Secret Garden with the two girls.
That was very weird. That was very weird.
That was like an LSD trip. When I look back on it now,
that was like acid for. I was older then, but I was like, this is something very. These women are in a cult. There's something very strange about. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I remember Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop. I had a Lamb Chop.
Lewis and Lamb
Chop. All right, we are going so.
And Wailing Flowers and Madam.
That wasn't a children's show for crying out loud.
I used to, but I was really young and I used to watch late night TV because I had TV in my room as a kid. And aren't you bushy? Right. And I used to watch Mary Hartman.
Oh, I love that show.
Which was the weirdest show on the fucking planet.
I love that
But
show.
I was obsessed with it because she had those two pigtails and she was so strange that I would just watch it and be like, what am I watching?
The whole show was like as it was written by a housewife who had been overdone her prescription medication. No, the whole show was like, I've taken all the medicine the doctor
It was such a weird.
They need to bring that show up. That show was fucking weird, man. That show was so
genius in the weird.
I mean, I was already like an adult by the time that show came out, but that show was like you're sitting there going, how did this get on the air?
Right.
In the best way.
Just weird shit. Mary Hartman.
I know. She was like this completely high housewife all the time. She was like a Stepford wife before they had the Stepford wife.
It was so out there.
I love that shit. All right, how are we going to segue? All right, out there. Bill Cosby wants to go on tour. Fuck him. Is he?
Oh my God!
He was blind.
Wait, I was about to say, y'all, he is cured.
Lord have mercy.
The sugars, the blindness.
I know. It's
the
amazing.
Old man who needed people to help him walk.
Amazing.
He is like, suddenly, cured. I'm cured and I'm good.
Thank you, Black Jesus. I know. Yeah. He's amazing.
It is amazing.
Oh, God. I hope every theater he goes to gets flooded.
I
think it's more he's thinking about it. I don't think it's going to happen. I really honestly don't think it's going to happen.
I think he's bold enough to go, and there are venues that are people see dollar signs that will book him because they will see dollar signs.
Oh, he'll bomb. He'll say something. And people will see something. And This Salopius, how you pronounce it?
Theophilus London. The story is really strange.
Weird. Okay, so he's a kind of a should we say alt rapper? I mean, he hasn't
Yeah,
really had hits, but he's very well respected.
Yeah, and he's been on, but he has like in that genre he's had, and he's collaborated with a lot of interesting people.
Isn't he like part of the whole Schoolboy Q clique? And
but
yeah, I think he's part of that kind of world.
When he had this tune called "Flying Overseas," and it's him and Solange, and I really, really like that.
Yeah,
song.
But I'm saying he's part of. Oh yeah,
but he feels like part of that whole energy.
Kind of LA, kind of.
His family has announced that he's missing, and evidently he's been missing
for 6 months. For 6 months. For 6 months. May I say again, for 6 months? Is it that they just didn't want to announce it until they had done their own work? I mean, it just feels like, how do you announce that somebody is missing for 6 months? I mean, 6 months after they are missing, unless this is something that he did a lot and they were like, oh, he's gone again. We'll just wait till he comes back. And then they're like, oh, shoot, he usually stays out for 5.5 months. Now he's gone for 6. I hope he's okay. I mean,
it's the weirdest story.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of broke the story, and then that was
it.
Yeah,
and then that was it. It was just kind of like, okay, and next up, Campbell's Soup, Chunky.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I can't even talk about fucking stupid ass Whoopi Goldberg. She's just an ass.
You know what's interesting about her?
I mean, she's just.
And I love Whoopi Goldberg. She's not. Oftentimes, there are times I kind of understand what she's saying in certain instances. I really do, but it's always like.
She steps on her own lead. She steps on the lead. So basically, and this happened so many weeks ago, I can't even remember. It was pre-Cookie Binge. I have no idea what was going on. You know, she said that stupid crap a few months ago about how the Holocaust wasn't really about race. You know, completely discounting the fact that the Nazis considered Jew, and that how you can walk down the street. She could walk down the street with a Jewish friend, and nobody would know they were Jewish. I mean, I think a million Hasids who are wearing their Hasid garb might go, I think that they would know we were Jewish since we're dressed in religious garb.
But you know what, really? But I will say this.
She doubled back on it again. She doubled back, yeah.
But real talk, never even making a connection to your last name. I didn't know you were Jewish until you told me. I had no idea. It didn't even dawn on me.
Yeah.
Didn't dawn on me.
Well,
and then when you told me, I was like, oh. You know what I mean? So I get. So that's.
You didn't see the little horns in my head.
So that I was tripping over the tail. You know, the tail. That is the. That is the part where I understand what she's trying to say. But like you say, it's always the way she says certain things.
She says it in the wrong way.
You're just like, girl, and there's a more delicate way to get this point.
But also the thing is, she has apologized. She did penance. She was in the timeout room for 2 weeks. Why are you? She brought it up again in the interview. Nobody was asking her about this. And she goes, oh, by the way, if I haven't dug a hole, let me re-dig it. Luckily for her, it happened when The View was on break and nobody cares.
But my thing is this. When somebody's already been punished and they say something, we have this tendency, I'm noticing now, the public to just want this public flogging forever. And it's kind of like, you also have to let people apologize. But
she apologized and then said it again. I think people accepted her apology, but you can't apologize and go, oh no, but let me just say the exact same thing that I just said again.
Well, let me ask you some Holocaust questions. Didn't Hitler also kill blacks and the gays?
Well, there were no. Yeah, he killed millions and millions of people. Right. No one has ever denied that. But to say, and I'm obviously not a Holocaust, but to say that it had nothing, that Jews were not a target is bananas.
Did she actually say that?
She basically it wasn't just about Jews. Yes, we know he killed Catholics. He killed gays. He killed the Roma. He killed anyone who wasn't a white Aryan. Right. But because he considered all those people to be racially impure. I mean, it's the thing that just drives me nuts is that she said something ignorant. She claimed she had been educated about it. She apologized. And then apropos of nothing, without anyone asking her.
That's always the best part when they just tell on themselves.
No one asked you. And then you said it again. So it's like, oh my God, are you just like that high that you don't realize that you're saying that she is that high, right? She's that high.
It reminds me of that lady who has the case in front of the Supreme Court right now, who has the website business, and
Oh,
she didn't want to
make
have to
gay.
build gay websites. But then it turns out nobody asked her, nobody booked her to
Nobody
do
asked her to do it.
nobody asked her to do
Right.
one. I'm like, this is a preemptive strike, and she's making this whole thing, and I'm kind of like, and I don't need anybody to force me. I'm like, nobody asked you to
No one asked you to do it. I know. It's
But
like, oh my God, I'm being forced. It's like, but no one asked you to do it in the first place. Yeah, Whoopi, whatever. Shut up. It's just like, oh. She's, like I said, it's just hilarious because she said something. I'm so sorry. I've learned. I've listened. I've been on a listening tour. I've learned. And then it's like, no, as far as everybody's concerned, it was done. And she goes, oh, wait, let me just say it one more time for the cheap seats. All right. I'll let you take the sugar babes because you care.
So, listen.
I'm going out for a cup of coffee. I'll be back.
First of all, you actually like the Sugar Babes. You've seen the Sugar Babes.
All right, let me explain to you why I saw the Sugar Babes.
You
I did not make a conscious.
I know, but we talked about them, and you said I like the Sugar Babes.
No, I don't dislike them, but I don't sit there and go, "Oh my God, I can't wait for the new Sugar Babes record to come out," because I wouldn't know a Sugar Babe if she or he fell on me. I saw the Sugar.
You be insulting
I
to
wouldn't
the
know a
legendary
Sugar
Babes.
Right, but
they are babes of sugar.
They are babes of sugar. I would not be able to pick a Sugar Babe out of a lineup. A Sugar Mama, a Sugar Daddy, or a Sugar Babe. And the only reason I went to the show is because my boyfriend.
And it was an Adidas thing. And
it was an Adidas thing, and I was in Germany, and I'm like, sure. Yeah, and they were so shocked that I even knew who they were. And then I sang along. I know one song.
Which one?
Look at Me. I love that song. And don't they do a version of Under the Bridge?
No, that is
All Saints.
That's
right?
All Saints. I love their version of that.
Yeah, it's really good. And the other reason I was sort of Sugar Babe friendly for a while is Cameron McVeigh produced them.
They do.
And there you go. All right. But I will hand it over to the almighty, exalted, mystic ruler of all things sugar and babe. Go.
Well, the original lineup have been together now since 2013, right? And they were first operating under the name MKS because legally they couldn't use the name Sugar Babes, and they finally got it back.
What's MKS stand for?
The first initials of each of their names, Mutia, Keisha, and Siobhan. And they made one album together, which was the first album, which had Overload, and it was a great album.
There's going to be an at-home test with this, right?
But it underperformed. Siobhan left the group. Heidi Range joins the group for the second album. They explode. They become really, really huge, blah, blah, blah. They had a bunch of changes. The original three recorded an album in 2013 that was supposed to come out. And they had all kinds of label issues and things, and the record leaked, and they just never put it out. Christmas Eve, they've been on a comeback of sorts for the last year. They played Glastonbury, which put them on a smaller stage, and it overwhelmed that whole area. They had to shut down the area. They just did a successful sold-out UK tour. They have a one-night-only show coming this fall at the O2. Like, they're really doing well. On the Christmas Eve, they surprise dropped that album that they originally was supposed to do called The Lost Tapes. And it's really fucking good. And man, let me just tell you, I love a girl group.
You do.
And I especially love a girl group who can sing. And the Sugar Babes actually can sing.
No, they can.
And it's really good music. And it's less pop. It almost brings it back to how the group was supposed to be, like the cool girls, more R&B-ish than pop. And it's just a great fusion and a great surprise. And now, because it's done so well, it has sparked a bidding war between the labels in the UK. So I love a story of redemption in music where if you stick around long enough and you work really hard and you have dedicated fans, because the fan base can really make or break. If your fans stick with you and the fans really showed up for them, that you can have another shot at having the career that you really, really want, Yeah. Like, because we see it so many times. What was really hard for me in the music industry was seeing people's dreams be broken.
That was it.
Like,
That was the only thing that was hard for you.
Well, yeah, because
I'm teasing you.
No, I know you are. I'm just saying that I've seen it so many times. Like these people come in and you could tell they wanted this their whole life. And they've made a great album. How many times have you gone to a listening session or something and they were the priority, right? And it was supposed to be a big deal.
Reese, remember her? Reese.
Remember Tasman Archer? Remember Tasman Archer?
Well, no, she was never going to break in this country.
But they thought she was. She was supposed to be a big deal.
I could tell you exactly
Imani
why
Coppola, when we signed her at Columbia, she was supposed to be a big. And so you see these people who work really hard and then circumstances happen and nobody cares. So I like it when you see a group be around for 25 years, come back to the original nucleus of it, and the fans really be receptive to that idea. And
the British, I don't think there would be an equivalent in the United States because the British are, I mean, first off, it's the country is the size of Rhode Island. So, I mean, and I'm not saying that to be nasty. I mean, it just is. So you can have if you submit a British fan base, they're going to stay with you pretty much for life. I mean, because I was talking to a friend of mine who is from England. She's from the North. And she said, I think English people appreciate music more than any other country because it's like more a part of our lives, that whole Northern Soul thing. You know, they sing in pubs. I mean, it's so centralized. You know what I mean? There's like 3 magazines. There's like 4 newspapers. So how old are these babes now? They got to be in their 40s, right? Because
when they started, they were like 13. So they're literally all in their 30s. So it's prime. It's like, boom.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
How crazy that they've been around and they're in their 30s. So it's like you got a whole second half of career to really be fierce. And I love to see it for women because it's hard. And what happened to them in the beginning was they had management that they were young girls and they were each different people encouraging them to have like almost that tension in the group. And that never works. And I've seen that happen. You know, where people think that helps keeping the mystique and people writing about them, but it tears groups apart. So I love to see it. And I love the women to see that, you know what? We're going to actually be in control now. No one is pulling our strings. We're the boss. And I appreciate that. And I'm glad that they're having success with it.
Yay.
Girls. You guys kind of do rule the world.
Well, they're not girls; they're women.
Women, honey. Well, they have a song called "Girls." That's why.
Oh well. You know.
From their really criminally underrated album, "Catfights and Spotlights," which is a great album.
Oh, I thought that you were making up a name of a record.
No, it's actually the name of their 6th album is "Catfights and Spotlights." Mm-hmm.
I thought they. Well, good. I mean, I think that they are very much a Brit phenomenon. I think there's just a different way people listen to music over there.
They work with a lot of American producers, which is interesting. And Dallas Austin did a lot of work with them.
He's always done really interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's always like the guy when you start scratching the surface of stuff. It's like he did that. He did that. He was always a really interesting producer to me. He didn't have a sound. You know, he had an aesthetic, but he didn't have a sound. And he was one of the first, if you really think about it, like quote unquote alternative Black producers in terms of the look and the sound. I love Dallas Austin. Yeah. I mean, he's a horrible boyfriend, clearly. But I love who isn't? They're all horrible.
I mean, they're all horrible.
They're all horrible.
They're all horrible.
They're all horrible. Except for you, of course.
But you know, listen, I'm a man too. I got my shit. That's why I just say. But see, that's why I stay single and I just date. I have lovers, and that's good, right? Because I'm nuts. I know I'm nuts. So it's like, don't put your nuts in other people. Well. And on that note, kids. Oh God! Oh Lord!
I'm sorry. As soon as you said that, I went. I hope he heard himself.
As the last syllable left my mouth.
I was like, did he just hear what he just said?
And I'm taking applications. And on that note,
all right, we have to sign off now because I'm literally choking.
Oh my God! So guys, you know what it is.
Speaking of nuts, I'm choking.
It is a new year. It's a new season.
So clearly the 2 weeks off hasn't made either one of us better behave.
Because we are chock full of nuts. So
I want to eat some more cookies.
Remember to follow us on the Pantheon Podcast Network, where you can hear an array of amazing shows. We're there. We love you. Remember to leave a comment. Share our show.
Please, leave a
we
comment.
Love it. We love reading your comments.
We love that.
Rate us. Share our friends.
Please.
Thank you. You guys, listen, even the crazy thing with us being off a couple of weeks, I've been watching the numbers and watching you guys going in order and catching up and listening to the shows.
Yeah,
and we really appreciate that. Pantheon appreciates you. Court and Amy appreciate you.
We do.
And we will see you next week. Bye.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.